Alrighty, how's it going? Rangers and overall hockey fans, thank you guys all so much for chiming in for a breaking news live stream. We're 2 hours off of the initial reporting that broke that, yes, finally, after what felt like a certainty for pretty much a week now, Patrick Kane is officially a New York Ranger for a couple of draft picks. My name's Tyler. You guys know me, especially on here on YouTube as Wardy, especially Wardy NYM covering the Mets. That is Steven at Statboy. Steven, you know him as the stats guru. Wherever you get, your coverage there on Twitter, covering all things Rangers. And we have a lot to say and a lot to react to as Patrick Kane is officially New York Ranger, rekindling that relationship just like what Vladimir Tarasenko did with, yes, Artemi Panarin. And he will be in the lineup for tomorrow's game in Philly at Wells Fargo Center, in which I will be in attendance. I'm beyond ecstatic to see what his debut is going to be like. We have a lot to get into. We'll probably be getting into the past 4 games for the Rangers and the upcoming games, including Kane's debut tomorrow night at the time of recording this. That is February 28th, this Tuesday. But before we get into anything else, Steven, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing really well. This is going to be an interesting week, of course, with the trade deadline on Friday. But the way it looks now, Friday is going to be a snooze fest because all the big trades have already happened.
That's a good point. Yeah, seriously.
But we might as well turn off our phones and go for some beers, man, on Friday. I mean, if and look, Frank Saravelli tweeted it 2 hours ago. The Rangers are expected to acquire Patrick Kane for a second-round pick that can become a first-round pick in a future draft and a fourth-round pick. A conditional second and a fourth for a guy like Patrick Kane. They're going to have to send a third-round pick to Arizona for the extra retention. So Kane for a second, third, and fourth rounder. That's the biggest bargain this team has had in a while at the deadline.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just
to put this into perspective, the Tampa Bay Lightning gave up more for Tanner Jeannot.
This is what happens when you have a player that says, you know what, I'm only going to one team, and there's nothing you can say or do about it. And Kane has earned his right to have this type of leverage. He
had a Hall of Fame career. He brought them 3 cups.
Yeah. He's done everything with them. So he deserves at minimum to have this say. And now Kane enters a Rangers team that, again, Steven, just a couple weeks ago when the Rangers acquired Tarasenko, it felt like the potential dream, the at all reality of Kane becoming a Ranger was not going to happen. I mean, you even saw Kane publicly state like his disgruntlement, pretty much like being disappointed that he was not going to be going to the Rangers. And yet here we are, and he's a New York Ranger. This top, if you would have told me like even last year with the years that they both had respectively, Tarasenko and Kane in your top 6 as your top 2 right wings. Like, are you kidding me? And, the first reaction, and we've gotten this a lot from people, is, okay, Kane's a Ranger. We get that. However, the Kane hasn't looked good this year. He hasn't been consistent. Well, let's take a couple things into account that we spoke previously on, right? One, it's the fact that Kane was playing with a bottom feeder Blackhawks team all year. He's been on a Blackhawks team for the past couple of years, has gone nowhere. He knows that their future is not now, and he knows that as long as he stayed there, he wasn't going to be winning a championship again, anything prior to him retiring, right? So the lack of motivation you'd have to imagine was there, and certainly kicking in for an elite forward, arguably the best player to come out of the U.S. of all time, one can definitely say right now. And now he's rejuvenized to be pumped up again in a playoff race with the New York Rangers, especially if he's going to be alongside Artemi Panarin, right? And secondly, look at what Kane's done offensively the past week and a half, 2 weeks. He's done a lot. Like, he's been putting up the goals. He's been putting up the production. The guy's ready to get out of there. And now he enters a Rangers squad that is star-stacked, star-loaded. Their only issue as of late has been defense. Now, does Kane help in that regard? No. He's pretty much the worst defensive winger in all the NHL. But what we do know is that as long as the Rangers can just get their act together defensively, Ryan Lindgren hopefully gets healthy from the cheap shots they dealt with against the Capitals. Keandre Miller, 3-game suspension. We'll get into that later in the show. Nonsense in my opinion, but I understand it is what it is. Once his defense is healthy and hopefully Igor becomes more the Igor that we've seen on a consistency basis throughout the entirety of his career, I mean, this roster has all the potential right now to be something truly special for not
Yeah.
only down the stretch, the remaining how many games they have left, but heading into postseason. So, Steven, my first question to you is, and again, shout out everyone first watching here on the live stream on YouTube. Greatly appreciate you guys. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Make sure to rate, review wherever you get your audio podcasts as well. But Steven, my first question to you is, how taken back are you by this when we initially saw it start to transpire over the past week that Kane to the Rangers, they're going to make the cap work? It's actually going to happen. Let me hear it.
Yeah, it was a bit iffy when the whole Miller thing happened, of course, because that could potentially throw a wrench in the work. But look, adding Kane makes this team better. I know people are still a little bit worried about the defense, and Kane doesn't help in that regard. But there's no denying that replacing Jake Lecision with Patrick Kane makes you a better team. Like anyone who argues against that is an idiot. Patrick Kane is a proven playoff performer. And, a year ago, he put up 92 points in 78 games. Tarasenko, a year ago, put up 82 points in 75 games. These are players that play on lottery teams that don't have the same amount of firepower that they usually play with. Look, how are they going to respond to playing on the Rangers with guys like Panarin and Trocheck? Look at what happened to Andrew Copp last year playing with Panarin. Andrew Copp had, I think, 20 points in 18 games for the Rangers after the deadline in the regular season. And look at where he is now with the Red Wings. He has 33 points, but only 6 goals, and it was kind of like a Ryan Spooner effect with Andrew Copp. Kane and Tarasenko will elevate this team, especially in the playoffs. And, if he doesn't produce at a point per game pace for the first 10 games, I would like to ask fans to not overreact, because Martin St. Louis had 3 points in his first 14 games as a Ranger.
And I'm sorry, what happened with St. Louis in that playoff run, Steven? Enlighten me.
It was pretty decent that playoff run. He
A lot of emotions. I will say that it was an
scored some
unprecedented
vital
situation.
goals. Scored some vital goals. Against the Montreal Canadiens to take us to the final. Against the Penguins on Mother's Day when we were down 3-1 in the series. Martin St. Louis in the playoffs was money. And Tarasenko and Kane, even if they have a slow start, they are going to have an impact on this team. And defensively, we haven't been great the last couple of games.
I think that's an understatement.
But before that, we had points in 10 straight games. We won 7 or 8 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
We have one of the best records in the league since December 5th. So, I understand the concerns about the defense, but it's not like we are consistently giving up 4 or 5 goals a game. So, like I said, the question is, are the Rangers better with Kane than they are with Lecision? And that should be an easy question to answer. And what really stands out to me is the reported return. Not even giving up a guaranteed first-round pick, not giving up a top prospect.
You have to get to the conference finals for it to even turn to a first, which hopefully that becomes a reality. I will say that much.
That's my only gripe with the trade, I guess. I think the condition is too easy. We've seen it in the past where, when we traded for McDonough, the condition was winning the cup for the second-round pick to become a first. When we traded for St. Louis in 2014, it was conference final and it becomes a first. When we traded for Andrew Copp last year, it was conference final and it becomes a first. Now we're doing this again. Why can the condition not be making the Stanley Cup final? It may not sound like a big difference, but it gets you to that to that next step. And look, from what I've heard, it's going to be a first-round pick in a later draft anyway. So regardless, the Rangers have a first-round pick going into the draft.
Okay, so it's only a second-round pick in 2023, but if it's a first round, it's not this year.
I think so. That's what I read somewhere. Okay. Official details have not been announced yet, so we're still waiting, of course, for the official announcement with the official details. But look, even if that happens, you're giving up a first-round pick and a fourth-round pick for Patrick Kane. Like, It's it's essentially the same thing you'd give up for Tarasenko and Mikola combined.
Yep.
Um, Chris Drury, if he pulls this off, Chris Drury has had back-to-back amazing trade deadlines as a GM.
Dude, he's a wizard. He is an absolute wizard. What he has been able to do, the Pat, just the fact that they were able to make this work with the cap. You know, it's funny because the reason why I dragged out of this long was like a $10,000 difference, I believe. So it's hilarious. But seriously, Drury, second straight year. I mean, we talked about Kane in the offseason. We talked about Kane even last year. We talked about Kane year after year after year. And I get it. He's not the same Kane that he was, but he's still Patrick Kane, and he's still going to make an automatic impact. And I don't know what else to say other than that. I'm just ecstatic to see how this guy is going to look now on this Rangers team versus the Kane that we saw throughout the entirety of the year with the Blackhawks. And even Kane last year, as you said, 92 points in 78 games with those Blackhawks, 26 goals, 66 assists. The man has 1,225 points in 1,161 games. The fact that you got him for such little return, not even a guaranteed first, is absolutely absurd. But this is, again, the luxury, Steven, that, you know, we've had the privilege as Ranger fans, and you can attest and agree this, right? You think over the years, especially in the early, to mid 2010s, when the Rangers were always favored with free agents coming out of college that were originally draft picks that won't go to the team. Kevin Hayes is that famous example, but we've seen that with plenty of others. You've also seen that with trade deadline preferences, because there's always a different vibe at MSG, especially a Rangers team that is in a cup contending window, and they are right now. And then add in the fact that, the guy that was an absolute stud with Patrick Kane and Artemi Panarin rekindled that relationship. I mean, shit, Steven, I'm at the point where get me Artem Anisimov from the Lehigh Valley Phantoms right now. Who says no? But in all seriousness, just this connection rekindled. It was exciting enough with Tarasenko and Vladdy. Again, we know he hasn't had a drastic impact on this team, and who knows the type of impact he'll have on for the remainder of the year. But just the pure depth, just the amount of, I think, if you look at opposing teams, this has to scare you. I know East is a powerhouse. I know Timo Meier just went to the Devils, and that's a huge acquisition for them. And fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He was the guy to get. We all would have loved Timo, but we knew it wasn't realistic. For what we knew what was realistic, even when it felt unrealistic still, landing both Kane and Tarasenko on one trade deadline is an absolute robbery. Now, let's hope that this comes into production and fruition for what our, hopes are as fans down the stretch here heading into postseason. But the Big Bad Bruins, they've gone better. The Leafs are doing all they can to get better. They made a lot of moves there. Carolina making some small moves on the side. The Penguins look like that they are minutes, if not hours, away from acquiring former Ranger JT Miller. It's star loaded. It is absolutely stacked in the East, but the Rangers are doing their part. And what else could they do here aside if they really want to do something better on defense? But there's no chance they're going to do that now without Mikola.
So the question is, if you acquire a defenseman, well, what's your play? Are you going to replace Mikola in the lineup or Schneider? Because the top four is pretty much set. The question is, are the Rangers, when it comes to forwards, do the Rangers have the best overall top 12 in the league?
I think a pure talent, you can certainly make that argument. But again, there's a difference between talent, the name, because Patrick Kane, the name itself, is worth more than you could ever envision. But that name turning into production is what we need to see. And that's why tomorrow in Philly against the Flyers that's been getting steamrolled left and right, I'm excited. That's a great first game. I'm going to be there
against the Flyers that Kane won his first cup against.
That's exactly. With the iconic goal. I mean, no one thought it was in, but it was in right there on the line. I'm so pumped to see him in uniform. It'll be myself and my good friend Gavin. Gavin, if you're watching the shout to you. Literally the only other guy that I know going to high school with that was a Ranger fan, because I live in Pennsylvania. So I don't have the same type of fan base. Steven, you can attest to this, not being around a lot of Ranger fans from where you reside. A little bit different between, the Netherlands and Dublin versus just Pennsylvania, but still, so he's ecstatic. he was saying the same thing. He's like, I know Patty isn't the same as even as he was last year, but it's still Patrick Kane. Like, oh, that just gets me. And, there's the fans out there that are writing him off. They're saying that this was a terrible acquisition. For any fan that thinks that there is any way that this is a negative, you have no effing clue what you're talking about. You're probably focusing more on Patrick Kane off the ice than you are on the ice. And while I understand and respect everyone's opinions on personalities and things of the past, I'm not disagreeing there. I'm not denying the wrongdoings that he may have done in the past or have been a part of, but that doesn't change the fact of the impact that he has on this team from a pure production value. That's what the Mets are, not the Mets. Again, I always have to slip the Mets in there, Steven. If I don't, then I'm clearly doing something wrong. If that isn't what the Rangers are going to get here and are expecting, then I don't know what is. So, as you said already, you go from Lecision. You go from, we haven't even talked about it yet because honestly, who gives a rat's ass at this point? Yeah, Vitaly Kravtsov got traded a couple days ago to the Vancouver Canucks. Sayonara, again, another failed draft pick by the Rangers. Who do we have to blame? It's definitely a mix of not only management not properly developing these guys, but also on their side too. I don't think it's fully one way or the other because we've learned by now with the Lee Sanderson and situation. And I know that you, Steven, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't he have Vitaly's jersey behind you? And now it's no. Oh, it is still behind you. It's just hiding a little bit. I see the jersey.
Where?
You have it in the frame. It's hidden. It's in the little frame behind your head. There
Oh,
it
yeah.
is. There it is.
Yeah.
It's still there.
His game worn KHL jersey, KHL All-Star jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, so for you, I think that's the only thing I feel bad about is like you get to build these relationships a lot with the prospects, and unfortunately, they don't always go the way you want them. Even Niels, Elias, Krabby, is this a sign, Steven? Like,
no, it's not.
It's
no,
not.
It's not.
Because look, if you fool me once, shame on me, right? You fool me twice, fool me 3 times.
Nah. look, it's like
Brendan Othman is really going to be the answer to all this.
It's like relationships. You move on. Like Kako is still in New York.
That all right. I will give you that. I will give you that.
Shesterkin's still in New York.
Okay, fair enough. All right. I retract my statement, but you gotta say there is some comedy with that at least. I know you don't you have Elias's helmet?
I do actually, yes.
Yes. You have Elias's helmet. You have Krabby's game worn jersey, and
I also have a Lindgren and Goudreau helmet.
That's cool. Very cool.
Especially, I have the Lindgren helmet from last season, the blue one that he wore when he scored that goal against Buffalo at home.
Yep.
So
you were at that game. That's why.
Yeah, I collect a lot of memorabilia. I have a Windsor Spitfires helmet worn by Will Cooley. That's pretty cool.
Ooh, very cool. Very cool. And also, I just wanted to chime in for 1 second to shout out everyone again. We're getting upwards of 200 concurrent viewers. Appreciate everyone watching the live stream. Continue smashing that like and subscribe button. And, of course, make sure to let us know your thoughts here in the live stream, in the chat, or in the comments below. We're trying to get to surely some of your comments before we wrap things up. But we got plenty more Rangers to talk as the Rangers breaking news have acquired Patrick Kane. But, Steven, go on with what you were talking about.
Oh, yeah, no, I have a lot of memorabilia. I have like sticks, helmets, gloves, jerseys, goal pucks. You know, it's a hobby. You collect stuff. So I think my most what's the word I'm looking for here? Prized possession, I guess, is a Rick Nash goal puck from my first ever NHL game.
That's cool.
It was the game-winning goal too. So the fact that I have that in my collection, that's how many people can say that they have a goal puck from their first ever NHL game that they attended. So
I can't.
Yeah, so it's a hobby. I collect a lot of stuff. So, but look, players move on. Kravtsov went to Vancouver. I wish him all the best. I'm glad the whole saga is over. We don't have to talk about him anymore. We don't have to hear all the complaints from Ranger fans anymore. We can move on. He played against Nils Lundkvist yesterday. Lundkvist scored a goal, so 1 point closer to that 4th round pick becoming a 3rd in the trade with Dallas. And this just happens. Players move on. Like when we traded for Rick Nash, we gave up Dubinsky and Anisimov. We traded Hagelin because of the salary cap. We traded Zuccarello because the Rangers were entering a rebuild. There's few players who spend their entire career with the Rangers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to mention this here in the show too, and then we'll go back to Rangers topics. Another big trade just happened, and this is for my favorite team out west. The Edmonton Oilers have acquired Matthias Ekholm, finally getting a solid defenseman. There you go. So they're building up that blue line. We'll see what their return is. This is their second move of the day. Their first was sending off Jesse Puljujarvi, the failed top draft pick from a couple of years ago. Again, I was a big Puljujarvi fan. Wish him the best in Carolina. But what is it with these Finns, especially? They have Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who's still a bottom six guy in that deep team right now. Young, still a lot of potential. Then you saw all the drama that went on with Jesperi over the years, heading back overseas, back to Europe, play for a little bit, and then he reconciled, kind of like what happened actually, coincidentally enough, with Vitali. But Jesperi has at least, pardon me, not Jesperi. I'm sorry, Puljujarvi. Jesse Puljujarvi at least has had some production at the NHL level. Went through that similar feud that Kravtsov won with the Rangers. So he was dealt to Carolina, and now they get Matthias Ekholm. So another big move today in the NHL landscape, and it would not be surprising at all if it is far from the last, especially JT Miller. That's that next big one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what's going to happen the next couple of days. But yeah, like I said, we're still waiting for the actual details on the Patrick Kane trade. But look, no Othman, no Cooley, no Sikora, no Garand, no McConnell Barker, no Zach Jones, no Matthew Robertson.
Oh, breaking news, Steven. You're not going to love this one.
What?
All right. Don't read it. I'm going to just read it to you. Braden Schneider has been recalled from the Wolfpack, and Ryan Carpenter has been assigned to Hartford. In addition, Austin Roshev was traded to Nashville for future considerations.
Okay. Well, yeah. I wish him all the best.
Yep. Future considerations. It keeps coming. We'll see how much dollars that is. Maybe that'll make a difference in this damn Kane trade. Who knows?
Just once, I want future considerations to mean something.
Yeah. I mean, it might now. I mean, we know how cap strapped the Rangers are. This could be a factor. Like, I don't know though, because Rushev is on not an NHL contract. He's on is it just AHL?
No, he's on an NHL contract. Otherwise, the Rangers couldn't trade him.
Oh, you know what? You're right. My mistake. I'm getting confused with baseball because there's differences, in minor league pay versus major league pay. They're a little bit separate. But yeah. So Austin, again, another guy that you've had the luxury of building a relationship with. Wish him all the best there in Nashville. So yeah, that's the latest from the Rangers. We're waiting for the Kane announcement. Steven, when you look at this top six, let's just think for a second. How do you expect Gerard Gallant to go about these lines, and how do you want them to go about these lines? Because I have my obvious opinion about it, but I'm sure you do too.
The only thing I can tell you is how Gallant's going to start tomorrow.
Okay, go ahead.
It's going to be Kreider, Zibanejad, Tarasenko. Then Kane, Panarin, Trocheck, Kane.
Ooh, baby.
Then the kid line, and then the fourth line is going to be Mott, Goudreau, Vesey. How sexy is that fourth line?
Tell me that isn't one of the best fourth lines in the league right away. Tell me it's not.
We have one of the best fourth lines in the league. We have one of the best third lines in the league. And our top six can compete with any team.
Dude, it's of course this is happening in the year that the Boston Bruins are like breaking records. That's all I gotta say. Like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, right? Because Boston, this added more fuel to the fire, seeing what they did. Even getting Orlov and Hathaway, just adding for sure. That's why the Leafs are going bananas right now with their moves too. But man, this is going to be such a dogfight. It's insane. And again, not sleeping at all on those Devils. They just got one of the best forwards in the game. Timo Meier is phenomenal on both offense and defense. Shit, man. There's just so much happening. When was the last time that we've seen craziness like this with this amount of pure talent being dealt prior to the NHL trade deadline? I've never seen something like this.
This deadline reminds me of the 2016 off season with free agency.
Yeah, well, Hall, Subban, right?
That was the Hall trade, the Subban trade, the was it Stamkos extension in 2016? Was that year?
Maybe. Wow.
Um,
I commend you
the
for remembering that if that's the case too, because that would not have been on my mind.
Yeah, and then of course that was the year of the terrible free agent contracts that were given out, like Troy Brower, Milan Lucic, Kyle Okposo, Louis Erickson, Andrew Ladd. Man, there were some bad contracts given out that day.
Oh, so
But
bad.
in terms of the trade deadline, man, I don't remember things being this crazy because it's not just Tarasenko and Kane, right? We're talking about Ryan O'Reilly being traded to the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, like we're sleeping. And look at what the Leafs have done since then already. They got Lafferty, they got McCabe, who has been a phenomenal defenseman this year for Chicago.
Yeah.
They traded Rasmus Sandin, which I found interesting. That's going to bite them in the ass if they don't win it all, in my opinion. They traded Sandin, who's a great young defenseman playing on that third pair for the Leafs, dealt to the Capitals in return for Eric Gustafsson, who's having a very good year, but Gustafsson is very wishy-washy too. Like, I remember him in Chicago. He broke out on the scene right away. Was a power play merchant, like Tony D, if you will, then fell off a cliff for a little bit, and now he's getting dealt himself in a first-round pick for Sandin. So, yeah.
Some players that were traded this month alone. We're in February, right?
Yeah.
Bo Horvat.
Who's having an insane season, might I add.
Vladimir Tarasenko, Nico Mikkola, Ryan O'Reilly, Noah Achari, Shea Weber, but that's only his contract, of course.
Yeah.
Zaitsev, traded to Chicago.
Yep.
Of course, Boston made the move for Orlov and Hathaway. Niederreiter to Winnipeg. The Dadonov Gurianov swap between Dallas and Montreal. Barbashev to Vegas. Of course, the Timo Meyer trade. Then Tanner Jeannot. Then Jake McCabe and Sam Lafferty to Toronto. Puljujarvi to Carolina. Marcus Johansson to Minnesota. Luke Shen to Toronto, and now we're just waiting for the details on the Patrick Kane trade. This is insane. This is absolutely insane.
And JT Miller is going to happen too. That's the next thing. Like, this is bananas.
By the way, and it's only Tuesday.
It's only Tuesday. It's only Tuesday.
We have like 69, 66 hours left before the deadline.
Shit. Everyone watching the show live or comment on replay, let us know what is your raw reactions to just the insanity that has been these NHL trades. If only we could have stuff like this on a year-by-year basis, Steven. I hope that this opens the floodgates to years going forward, because this isn't only so entertaining. This isn't only great for the game, but this is what helps give you exposure for an NHL that lacks in it heavily.
So, if you would have to name 4 teams that are better than the Rangers, which 4 teams would it be?
Boston.
Yeah.
Okay, here. Let me look at the standings, but I'm not gonna base it solely on standings. I'm gonna look at it because I haven't looked at the standings in at least a week and a half. So let me look up NHL standings real quick, and then let me get back to you. Hold on. Boston's number 1, obviously, but
so I don't think anyone cares about the West. So just look at the East.
Yeah. I mean, give Dallas credit. What a bounce back season that they're having, because Jason Robertson is effing phenomenal. Okay, so looking at the West, looking at the East, this is nuts. So Boston, I got to go with number 1.
Yeah.
2, out of the teams,
or better, or can compete with us, like 5 teams. Name. It's like the top 3 teams in both divisions.
Should I say better, or teams I'm most concerned with?
Teams that can compete with us.
Teams that can compete in playoffs. Definitely Boston. Definitely Tampa.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Toronto.
Toronto, yes, but they need to prove us wrong.
Carolina.
Carolina, they can, But again, we've just had their number. So it's Carolina absolutely on paper they can, but
Of course.
they haven't proven that we should be scared by them.
So what about
Penguins,
New Jersey?
Penguins aren't going to be in it. I shouldn't even say that.
What about New Jersey?
Jersey, we don't know yet. They can. Jersey gives me the vibes that Carolina has in recent years with all these young guns now finally starting to blossom.
So let's just go with those 5 teams, right?
Okay.
I'm going to read you their top 6, and I want you to, because we just went over the top 6 for the Rangers, right? Kreider, Zibanejad, Tarasenko, Panarin, Trocheck, Kane. I'm going to read you the top 6, and I want you to tell me if the Rangers are better or not in the top 6, if as a whole. So starting with Boston, Marchand, Bergeron, DeBrusk, Zacha, Krejci, Pasternak. Which top 6 is better overall?
Repeat that again for me. Sorry.
Marchand, Bergeron, DeBrusk, Zacha, Krejci, Pasternak.
On paper, you want to say Rangers. Pasta is having an insane year, however. So he kind of makes them stick out. It's tough because I think it doesn't only go in hand with just point production itself. It really goes in hand with how they're gelling, and that's going to be the big X factor with Kane. If Kane gels right from the jump, then we have something. But like Bergeron, it's hard for me to talk down because yes, he's not the player that Zibanejad is, but Bergeron, in my opinion, has been arguably the best centerman in the game for like the past decade.
Yeah,
I view so highly of him specifically.
All right, so this is a toss-up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one, Tampa. Killorn, Point, Kucherov, Hagel, Cirelli, Stamkos.
I'm going Rangers there.
Okay.
It's tough. I'm probably going Rangers there, yeah, because Tampa, I just don't know what to expect.
All right. Toronto, then. Bunting, Matthews, Marner, Tavares, O'Reilly, Nylander.
Rangers because Leafs don't sway me. They haven't proven me wrong yet.
Top 6 overall, you pick Rangers over the Leafs, right?
I would, yeah, because the Leafs have had that same top 6 past couple of years, and they've done nothing to, again, it's coin flip. Like if you're a Leafs fan, you say Leafs, but again, what have the Leafs done outside their regular season performance to sway me? They haven't. They don't have the experience, and that concerns me for them.
Yeah, the last time the Leafs made it to the second round, there was no salary cap.
Yeah.
Carolina, then. Svechnikov, Aho, Jarvis, Teravainen, Kotkaniemi, Nechas.
Yeah, Sperry's in their top 6. Am I just realizing that? Why did I not realize that?
I mean, I can swap him out for Jordan Staal if you want.
Okay. So yeah, okay. Yeah, still Rangers. I mean, if I'm taking Rangers over Leafs, I have to take Rangers over Carolina. Again, a lot of great young talent. Love Teravainen, love Svechnikov, but
And then New Jersey, Tatar, Hischier, Meyer, Sharangovich, Hughes, Brutt. Top 6 as a whole, not individual players. Which top 6 would you pick? The Rangers or the Devils?
Obviously, I would take the Rangers. However, I will say Devils are up there when it comes to the group that concerns me the most because they are all young studs and they're all really starting to break out. Hughes has been a Ranger killer since day one. Yeah. I might shock some people, but I really am more concerned with the Devils than most teams outside of Boston. Okay. I really am because again, they clearly have something going there and they've proven that it's not a fluke. They had a rough patch, but adding Timo Meier now takes that team to new heights. It really does.
So based on the top 6 alone, the only ones that you're concerned with are the Devils and the Bruins? Just comparing the top 6?
Devils.
Look, if we look at third line and fourth line, I think the Rangers have the best, or at least one of the best fourth lines in the league. And we saw what the kid line can do in the playoffs last year.
I think depth, if we just talk about overall depth and their lines 1 through 4, I think Rangers are very much on the cusp of being like number 2 out of the East behind Boston. on pure depth.
Yeah.
But again, Tampa, of course, they still worry me. Rangers have had very good games against Tampa, but there's something to be said about being kind of where the Rangers are, essentially, where they're not the best team in the East, obviously. They're going to make playoffs, but it's about what you do when you make playoffs. And Tampa has still proven that they're really good. Now, could Tampa feels like the team that they're going to be, again, not what they were. Like, the fact that they still made it to the Cup last year was remarkable, given what they've lost over the past couple of years. But they're a team where I look at them and I expect them to not even make the conference final, especially depending on their matchup. And this is not to down Tampa or their fans. I just feel like that they're going to start to go in that direction, right? They feel like that they're finally going to be on the decline sooner than later. But it's tough. Again, the Devils worry me. There's always something to be worrisome about when you're facing a young, hot team that's breaking out. The Devils are having their Rangers year from last year, is how you could view them in that sense. They go from, a fringe team to finally being a playoff contention. And I think that they're definitely going to surprise some people. But again, I could be totally wrong. And they just get smoked because they lack their experience, which also wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Look, the East is loading up. It's unbelievable how many players have been traded from the West to the East over the last couple of days, weeks, including O'Reilly, including Horvat, Tarasenko, now Kane and Meyer. It's unbelievable. Like, does anyone care about the Western Conference going into the playoffs?
People do. Look, you still can't sleep on the Avs. They're not the team they were last year, obviously.
No, but it's the Stanley Cup is the East to win, right? Yeah. This is going to be like '94, where everyone was talking about the Eastern Conference Final being the actual Stanley Cup final, because whoever wins that was going to go on to win the cup. That Rangers Devils matchup.
You know what team though I really think could surprise some people, and I guess this is me always having a favoritism for them over the years, but Winnipeg. And I'm not just saying that because the Rangers just lost to Winnipeg. I'm saying that because I like their balance. I think that they can actually do something in the postseason.
With them acquiring Ekholm, I kind of want to give the Oilers a little bit more credit because
absolutely. Their bottom six just always worries the hell out of me. Simple as that. They're just not deep.
Their defense is a bit better now, which was one of their issues. And it's McDavid and Draisaitl, man. I mean, you cannot sleep on those ever. I think the Avalanche, they're still a good team. But I don't know, the hunger might not be there after winning last year. But I firmly believe that whoever comes out of the East wins the Stanley Cup in like 4 or 5 games.
I would tend to agree with you. And I also wanted to note as well, for people that are curious about the Ekholm trade, the details is that Nashville will be eating part of that salary. But it's a big haul. Tyson Barrie's going back, Reed Schaefer, and a first round this year and a 4th round.
Reed Schaefer is not a bad prospect to get. Look, the Predators have made some interesting moves. That Tanner Jeannot trade, by the way, I mean that's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know, you might be a little bit too young for this, but Ricky Williams, do you know who that is?
Not ringing a bell other than Ricky Williams in football.
That's the one.
Oh, so you're talking about Ricky Williams, the awesome running back for the Miami Dolphins.
The Ricky Williams, who Mike Ditka traded his entire draft capital for.
Yes.
That's the first. When I saw the Tanner Jeannot return, first thing that popped in my head was Mike Ditka and Ricky Williams.
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
That was like, I was like, is Mike Ditka the GM in Tampa now? Unbelievable. It makes no sense. It was Cal Foote, a first, a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth.
Isn't it crazy how they traded both the Foote brothers? Like when they both got drafted in Tampa, I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Both like respectable prospects too, not just guys where it's like, oh, we got them for nepotism and nepotism alone. Like there's actually reasons to like both of them.
like the Chicago Blackhawks did with Kirby Doc, and then
Yeah.
drafting Colton Doc, and then
Yep.
trading Kirby Doc to Montreal.
Yeah, those bastards.
Oh man.
Here. So I want to go over the past couple games briefly, if you don't mind, because we do know that past 4 games, the Rangers have not performed well. They're looking to obviously have better production starting tomorrow. So we'll briefly go over the past 4 games and, look ahead for the next couple, including the Flyers game in which I'll be in attendance at in Philly tomorrow. Going to be a lot of fun. I do want to let the public know that every week when we do these podcasts, we do predictions of, what is the Rangers record going to be in those 4 or 5 game span. And neither of us got the predictions right. However, I took the under on goals and I won. So I keep the fake championship belt that we toss back and forth
We need
each
to
week.
get an actual physical belt.
We
One day.
do, and we need like the Rangers review logo on it. That'd be like, and if it's spun, that'd be awesome.
Yes.
That'd be, imagine I'm going out of my way to fly that shit to Dublin. It takes like a month to get there or something by the time it's like the season's over. That'd be so stupid. We both need to order one, and then like
Yeah.
when we win, we like mount it or something.
Exactly. Whoever wins that week can display it in the background.
Yeah,
That's fair.
like we just won the
Yeah.
WWE championship.
You can
That's
use
fun.
those YouTube donations for something useful for once.
Yeah, for once. Yeah, no. Okay, so let's get into the past couple games for the Rangers briefly, because again, the topic.
We
of
don't have to
discussion.
review the first 3. Just review the LA Kings.
Well, I'll let you take it away then, Steven, because honestly, I'm gonna. You know what? I really don't want to talk about these a lot. I really don't want to go over these games.
No.
I think we should just, that
I
was.
just want to talk about the Kings game.
Let's put it this way. This was pre Patrick Kane, so does it really matter? Does anything really matter pre Patrick Kane? Because I don't think it does. Because that does not define what this Ranger team is now. So
It's
Steven,
pre-revolution. Nobody cares.
it's pre-revolution. Who gives a shit? Steven, I'm gonna let you take it away. What happened in that matchup against the LA Canes? Because it was a wild one.
The Kings game was absolutely insane. Of course, everyone knows the Miller incident, the spitting incident that got him a game misconduct and a subsequent 3-game suspension. But what that did for the Rangers is it left them in a situation where they only had 4 defensemen left because, of course, Ryan Lindgren was injured. Braden Schneider was on the bench, but they didn't want to play him because they had to send him down the following day. And you cannot send down a player that's injured. So they didn't want to risk any injuries. I know there was some talk about Joe Micheletti on the broadcast that if Braden Schneider doesn't play in the game, he doesn't count against the cap. That's nonsense. I don't know where Joe Micheletti heard that, but just want people to know that's not true. But yeah, they had 4 defensemen basically playing the last 2 periods, and it was absolutely insane. Not only did the Rangers take a lead in the first period after that 4-game losing streak with Lafreniere getting his 11th, but then in the second period, in a minute and a half, they scored twice more. Trocheck both goals, and you're like a 3-goal lead when you're down 2 defensemen. Essentially, you're going with 4 defensemen. I was wondering if they could keep it up, but then the Kings came back to 3-2 with Arvidsson and Matt Roy scoring for them.
Mm-hmm.
But then Panarin extending the lead to 4-2, and then Zibanejad on the power play, which I want to add was the best power play sequence by the top unit this entire season. The way they were moving the puck, the way they were skating around, that made it hard to defend. They weren't static like we usually see. They were moving pieces on the ice, and it caused some confusion, and it was a beautiful power play goal. The Rangers win. Shesterkin back in the win column with a .929 save percentage. And regarding the time on ice, I need to call this out, man. Jacob Trouba, 29 minutes, 1 second. Ben Harper, 28 minutes, 4 seconds. Ben Harper. Adam Fox, 25 minutes, 57 seconds. And Nico Mikkola, 25 minutes, 34 seconds. Only the second time since the NHL started tracking time on ice that the Rangers had 4 separate defensemen hitting 25 minutes.
Wow.
Ryan Carpenter played 1 shift for 13 seconds.
I know he like didn't play at all. I don't even recall seeing his shift. I really don't. Oh god.
No, nope. So yeah, no. Rangers get back in a win column with a good win, 5-2. Look, if we beat the Kings, it's always a good thing because fuck the Kings. But the win at home, 5-2 after a 4-game losing streak, in the most insane game. I even almost forgot about Mika Zibanejad going into the locker room after he was hit in the uh, in the ankle with a puck on a penalty kill. At the end of the second period, we were worried that he was out for the game, but no. The whole team played like warriors, and if there was ever a way to end the pre-Kane era in New York, this was the way.
This was the
Speaking of
way.
speaking of this is the way, Mandalorian season 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, you
But
know what? As someone who hasn't watched Mandalorian before, I do plan to hopefully throughout the summer to binge it, mainly because Pedro Pascal, who's like I love him as the actor. I didn't realize that he plays Mandalorian in it. So now I have all this interest, not only because I've been watching The Last of Us every week, which is a phenomenal show on HBO Max. It's based off of the video game The Last of Us. It's like identical to its campaign mode,
yeah,
but him, I first got introduced to him actually in, for those that know the show Narcos on Netflix, one of my favorite shows about, everything going on with the Colombian cartel, not only starting off with Escobar, but then it goes into the other cartels in the area after Escobar had passed away, and then leading into everything in Mexico. There's Narcos and then Narcos Mexico, but in the original Narcos, Pedro's in it, and I loved him in that. And he was also very good in a spy movie. I always blank on the name. It's not The Gentleman, but it's something like that along those lines, in which he played a really good role. I don't know why I'm blanking on the movie.
let me look it up. By the way, if you're going to binge watch The Mandalorian, you also have to watch the Book of Boba Fett because part of the story is wrapped into that movie, or into that TV show. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
but if you have any questions about that, I'll let you know. Let's see, Pedro Pascal. Last of Us, The Bubble, House Comes with a Bird, Book of Boba Fett, Wonder Woman 1984, We Can Be Heroes, Mother Hacker, nope, Triple Frontier, The Equalizer, Prospect. Oh, he's in Kingsman. I forgot about that. The Great Wall. No, I don't know which movie you're talking about, to be honest.
That's fine. But yeah, not to get on a tangent there. Hold on, just had to do something. Okay. Oh yeah, no, Pedro Pascal, I'm a fan. So looking forward to checking out Mandalorian sometime this year.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have the game tomorrow. So why don't we do our predictions and we'll get to a couple comments. Sound good with you?
Sure. Are you looking them up?
The games, yeah. We got Philly tomorrow, obviously. Then at home against the Senators the day after.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have 3 games because after that it's a 5-day wait.
True. So away in Philly tomorrow, then at home against the Senators, and then away in Boston on Saturday at 1:00, which I am ruining the idea of even doing that. Not looking
Yeah.
forward to that at all.
You can go first because you won.
All right. So in these 3 games, I think the Rangers are going to go. I think the Rangers are going to go 2-1. And for goals, I'm going to take. I'm going to go with 10.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go nuts and go 3-0, and I'm gonna take the over.
Oh, okay. Okay. I love the optimism. By all means, prove my ass wrong. Not complaining there. Okay.
Yeah, let me write this down and send it to you so we have it. Yeah, so I found this tweet by Emily Kaplan. If that is indeed real or reliable, let's say. Yeah, so it's conference final, and then the first rounder would be either 2024 or 2025. So I assume it would be top 10 protected.
What will be top 10 protected again? My apologies.
The first rounder if we make it to the conference final.
Okay, yeah. I mean that makes sense. So, okay, awesome. So from there, we have our predictions. So why don't we get into a couple comments? Unfortunately, I can't click on them here in the software only because I had an issue with StreamYard, but we'll do it through YouTube. So, Steven, can you read any of the comments right now?
I can go. I can hold on.
Let me know if there are any that stand out to you. But guys, if you'd like to have any of your questions answered, by all means, ask away right now. Greatly appreciate it.
Hold on.
Let me know if there are any that stand out to you. But guys,
yeah, just mute that.
Questions answered, by all means, ask away right now. Greatly appreciate it. Let me know if there are any that stand out to you.
Steven, mute it.
By all means, ask away right now.
Okay.
Greatly appreciate it.
I paused it now.
Steven, mute the live stream that you're playing. What you just clicked on. Thank you, because it was echoing through. Did you not realize that? No, it was going through. So every time I was talking, it was like I could hear it through the show. So people in audio are like, "What the fuck just happened?" Whatever. Okay, do you see the comments now? Can you watch?
Sorry, I just figured out what happened. I opened the link in YouTube, but it was also playing on Twitter. Fuck. That was all my fault. Sorry about that. Now let's see if I can find some comments here. Fuck, where are the comments? Oh, there they are. What do you guys think about shuffling the defensive pairings when they had 4 D-men? Honestly, Mikola with Fox, I was very excited about. That was a really good pair. And Harper Truba, it just worked. Well, look, hard to argue with them getting 25 plus minutes in that game against those odds, against that team, and not looking out of place. So kudos to both Mikola and Harper.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we're going to see them in that kind of role again. I hope not, but it's good to know that they are able to handle those responsibilities when push comes to shove, if we're ever in that situation. Let's see. Let's hope the Bruins fall to the curse of the President's Trophy. I hope so too, although I disagree that there's a curse, because the first overall ranked team still has more Stanley Cup wins than any other position. But it is not as much a given as people think it is. Do you think Kane stays with the Rangers for next season? Listen, if I'm Drury, I'm going to talk to Kane and say, listen, if you want to stay in New York, that's great, but these are your options. Hopefully he does something that Bergeron and Krejci did in Boston.
Yeah.
I would love for that to happen. If that happens, then great. Keeping Kane for a few more years at a low cap hit, I'm all for that. And with how much he wanted to move here, unless he retires, I wouldn't be shocked to see it. But I'm pretty sure Kane and his agent are aware of the Rangers cap situation. Let's see. Do we have the best 4th line in the league now? Yes, I think Mott, Goudreau, Vesey is the best 4th line in the league.
Did we address Azul's with the $20 donation? Thank you so much for that, Azul's. When I get that in net 30, I will make sure to utilize that money wisely for once, as Steven famously said. I appreciate that donation, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, Kane beyond this year, yet to be seen. Let's put it this way. There's a realistic possibility that the Rangers don't have Kane or Tarasenko beyond this run. Just like how we saw last year. We wanted Cop, we wanted Vetrano, we wanted these guys back, and we ended up not bringing anyone. All that matters to me is that they're productive when we need them to be down the stretch in the postseason. And the Rangers bring back at least one of them. Awesome. Do I expect both of them? Hell no. I don't foresee any world where that could happen. But I gotta say, I would not be opposed to Kane finishing, playing a couple more years as a Ranger if he's productive, or in the case of Tarasenko, same thing applies, as long as, again, they're productive and being, useful winners.
Yeah. Someone just commented in the chat that Gustav Nyquist is traded to the Minnesota Wild. Not sure what the return is there. I'd have to check, but Patrick Carmen there is Gerard Gallant on the hot seat. I don't think he's on the hot seat per se, but if the Rangers have a first-round exit, then he might be gone, because that's just not the direction you want to go in. Remember with Tortorella, he took us to the conference final, and then the following year we went out in the second round, and he was gone. So it's not impossible. I think Gerard Gallant probably has a better relationship with the players than Tortorella had in 2013. So I don't think he's necessarily on the hot seat or gone next season, but we'll see. Let's see. Yeah, and there's more stuff about Nyquist going to the Wild. I'm just going to scroll up and see if I can find any other questions from a while ago. Do we know the third D pairs on Wednesday? I think it's just going to be it's just going to be Mikola Schneider. I don't think there's any question there. If Lindgren is good to go, he'll play. Maybe Mikola moves up to the Trouba pair, but with Harper playing with Trouba for the majority of the game on Sunday, Harper probably slides in there into the lineup. And yeah, we'll have to see if Lindgren's good to go. Gerard Gallant said that he's not sure, so he didn't say no. That's going to be interesting.
That is going to be interesting. Do you think that there's no chance that Jones is brought up during the stretch, right? With Miller?
No. If we see Jones, it's going to be after the regular season's over. With the Wolfpack most likely missing the playoffs, you're going to see a lot of call-ups because there's no roster limit, there's no salary cap in the postseason. So you're going to see guys like Brodzinski, Carpenter, Hayek, maybe Robertson, Jones, maybe Cooley get called up. They're not necessarily going to play, but they're going to be on the extended roster and practice with the team. And especially for a guy like Cooley, that can be very beneficial.
Oh, yeah. Can be very beneficial indeed. Cooley's a guy. I'm excited about him and his future, especially. He didn't wow or anything like that in his little stint here. Had a good scuffle or two while he was up. Yeah. But, overall, Cooley's a guy that we hope at least has maybe a little bit more potential, a little bit more ceiling than we saw with like the Brendan Lemieux of the world, as an example, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can answer like one or two more before we wrap things up. We're about an hour in. So again, appreciate everyone that's been watching the live show. Continue smashing that like and subscribe. And we're getting close to 100 likes. So thank you guys so much for that. Appreciate the support. And again, if you guys enjoy Rangers podcast every week, this is the place to be. Myself, of course, Wardy, and that is Statboy Steven. Check us out on social media too. At Twitter at WardyNYM. Of course, I'm known for my Mets content, but I do talk about the Rangers every now and then on social media too. And the New York Knicks, who had a massive W against the big bad Boston Celtics yesterday. It's crazy. Boston Celtics, best team in the NBA. The Boston Bruins, the best team in the AHL. And hopefully neither of them win a championship this year. Boston faltered heavily to the Knicks yesterday. Big dub for my New York Knickerbockers and New York Rangers. Hopefully they get the win streak going. That'd be great. And of course, Statboy_Steven for you, Steven, on Twitter, who's talking nothing but Rangers, always Rangers every single day. guys who fight in first NHL game have very high success rate. I don't know what you mean by that exactly, Richard. My apologies.
He's probably referred to Will Cooley, who had a fight in his first ever game.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So, yeah, craziest trade deadline week in years. Yeah, I don't remember things being this crazy. Like we said before, it's not just Kane and Tarasenko. It's O'Reilly. It's Niederreiter. It's Orlov. It's Bo Horvat. There's so many moving pieces. It's absolutely insane, and we still have 3 days to go. So yeah, Matthias Ekholm now traded, of course. So yeah, it just doesn't end.
It doesn't end. And again, I'm excited for that Miller trade. They dropped Brock McGinn today. They dropped who was the other guy? Friedman as well. Both very good defensively minded forwards in their bottom six. Brock is just not on a favorable contract for the Pens right now. And this is kind of what you said the other day, Steven, where it's like, it's ridiculous with how tight this cap is. A lot of good play. I mean, Kasperi Kapanen a couple of days ago, too, prior. And don't get me wrong, Kapanen's nothing great. Pens fans will tell you that first. However, these are still NHLers, right? That could be in a lot of teams' bottom sixes. And they're dropping like hotcakes right now because teams are that desperate for cap space.
Yeah, and look, the Penguins are definitely gearing up for a move. Whether that's today, tomorrow, or Friday, we don't know. But look, a lot of teams are up against the cap. This is what the salary cap does. People are complaining, but it's not the league's fault. It's not the salary cap's fault. This just proves that general managers have a hard time working with a budget.
Yeah,
that's true. What it is. That's what it is. If a kid gets a budget of $25 and he spends it all in the first week of the month, the solution is not to give him another $25. The solution is to let him just, survive for the rest of the month. And it's the same with the salary cap. If a general manager makes a mistake and signs a player for too much money, that's not a league issue. That's not a salary cap issue. That's a general manager issue.
Exactly. It is a GM issue. And we've seen that full-fledged, on full display for a lot of teams, unfortunately, for their sake. But, Steven, this is episode 74. So before we get out of here, do you know off the top of your head?
There's two.
There's two. Like, you know them off the top of your head, or did you look it up?
Yes. I know them off the top of my head. Yeah.
Okay. Did Vitali actually wear 74 with the Rangers?
Yes.
Okay. So that's one. Two, how recent was the second guy?
Like more than 10 years ago. You're not going to get this.
Okay. I got the obvious
one. I'm going to be completely honest with you. You're not going to get this.
That's fine. There's a reason for that.
I think it was 2003, 2004. Joel Bouchard.
Joel Bouchard. Okay.
He was a 6th-round pick for the Calgary Flames in 1992. He played for the Calgary Flames, the Nashville Predators, the Dallas Stars, the Phoenix Coyotes, the New Jersey Devils, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the New York Islanders, and the Dallas Stars. He was one team short of playing for all 5 teams in the All-Atlantic Division because he never played for the Flyers. Do you know the first player to represent all 5 All-Atlantic Division teams?
First player.
Rangers, Devils, Islanders, Penguins, Flyers. The first player to represent all 5. He wore number 45.
Yeah. Aaron Asham.
There you go. Aaron Asham.
Yeah, I will never forget Aaron Asham for that reason alone. Funny, it's funny you mention him because my buddy Gavin, who I'll be going to the Ranger game tomorrow with, has an Aaron Asham game use stick.
Oh, that's interesting.
Very random, but hey, it is what it is.
Aaron Asham.
Yeah, Aaron Asham was a fun guy. Yeah, he was all.
Have you played Red Dead Redemption 2?
I have not. No.
Because you're meeting a friend named Gavin tomorrow. That's funny. Because In Red Dead Redemption 2, there's like a random encounter with a guy who's looking for his friend Gavin.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So if there are people in the chat who played Red Dead Redemption 2, you know what I'm talking about.
I had no clue of that whatsoever. That's funny.
Yeah, if you're walking around the arena going, Gavin, Gavin, then people
people understand that reference, is what you're saying.
Yeah, there has to be at least a couple in that arena that have played. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Bundy. There you go. Yeah, have you seen Gavin? See?
Now I'll look it up. That's funny. I hate when I don't know the joke, but like I can imagine why it's funny. So I'll look it up. I'll look it up not long after this. But Steven, we're over an hour into this, so I think we're gonna wrap things up now. Do you have any final remarks before we head out of here? And again, guy on the wall behind me, Patrick effing Kane, is a New York Ranger. Also, by the way, if you guys are gonna look to see me in attendance at all, if anyone's attending that Ranger Flyer game tomorrow in Wells Fargo, I will either be wearing that Reebok Kane jersey or I will be wearing my Panarin jersey. So one of the two. I'm short. It might be a little bit difficult to find me. I'm probably not going to be at your eye level, but look down, look for the short schmuck that is me. And rest assured, hopefully you find me.
Yeah. Enjoy the game tomorrow. And Patrick Kane is going to be a Ranger, man. It's, third Ranger ever to wear 88 in an official game.
Third Ranger ever, Eric Lindros. And who's the other one? When was the?
Well, the guy played in the 70s. We traded him away for Rick Middleton. We traded Rick Middleton away for him.
Oh, I don't know.
Ken Hodge.
Okay, close.
If there are any older Ranger fans listening, they just had an aneurysm because the Rangers traded Rick Middleton, who then had his number retired and had a Hall of Fame career for the Boston Bruins.
Oh, okay.
If you trade a player away and he gets his number retired by another team, you fucked up the trade.
Especially when it's Boston.
Yeah, but look, when the Rangers traded Zubov away, I know it wasn't for Pittsburgh, but he got his number retired by Dallas. That's the kind of career that you got rid of.
Was it the same day or the same week as Hank?
Maybe the same day. Yeah,
I think it might have been the same day.
Yeah. By the way, the last Ranger to wear number 88 in an unofficial game was Adam Fox in 2019.
Oh, I actually remember when he would wear that number. Yep. That's not surprising to me. Very cool. Yep. Alrighty. Well, Patrick Kane's a New York Ranger. We're excited. Elite top 6 on paper. We'll see how it turns out starting tomorrow night. But until then, thank you guys all so much, as always, for chiming into the podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to rate, review wherever you get your podcasts, not only on YouTube, but audio as well on multiple platforms. The audio version will be out not too long after the live show. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on here on YouTube. Let us know your comments down below if you didn't already in the live chat. We'll talk to you again real soon. But Steven, let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers, baby.